Welcome to the Ministry Pivot Podcast with Russell St. Bernard, a podcast designed to assist leaders as they seize the season of opportunity by pivoting toward it. Let's get started with today's episode.
Hey, welcome to Ministry Pivot. Reverend Russ, super excited to have you back with us, whether you're watching or whether you're listening, whether it's tonight, whether it's during the day, whatever it is. Super excited that you decided to tune in. Don't forget to like, to comment, to share, to subscribe. I have a super great pivot. I know I say it every time, but I am excited about those that are able to come on and allow me to talk with them about their pivots in life. But I have a mentor of mine for years. His name is Pastor Phil Jackson out of Chicago. Phil Jackson is not the coach, the basketball coach, but he's a coach because he is a ministry coach. He is a youth ministry coach. He is a effective urban ministry coach. I can use that term with him. Sometimes we throw around this urban term, but Pastor Phil has been doing work in Chicago in the North Lawndale area specifically, and we had a great conversation. I don't want to say anything else about that right now. I just want us to jump into my conversation with Pastor Phil Jackson. Let's go. Pastor Phil, man, thank you so much for getting on Ministry Pivot. Super excited to have you on. I gave you an intro already, but I just got to say it again. Man, you are one of the brothers that the Lord used to help direct Russell's path, not Pastor Russ, not Reverend Russ, but Russell's path, man. I'm so honored to have you as a mentor, but also to have you on the pivot today, man. So I know we're going to get into some other stuff, but I wanted to say it at the top again. Man, I am appreciative of you. My wife is appreciative of you. We're thankful for Phil Jackson, not the coach.
I know, right.
Coach, but the coach in the other way for many of us in ministry, man. So appreciate you, man. Thanks for getting on Pivot today.
Grateful to be here, man. Looking forward to it. And so proud of you, man, for the militancy and the resilience to stay in that path, man, and the many young people and believers who've been impacted by your tenacity of faith in that way. It's beautiful, man. Grateful to be a part of our journey together, man, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I wanted to have you on Pivot because as I've made pivots, right, through youth ministry, now in executive leadership ministry, but still coaching youth ministry. Right. You were one of the guys, man. Again, I said it early on. I'm probably going to say it a billion times in this podcast. Okay. Who were instrumental not just in coaching, right, but in living the life that it means to be in church, but also be focused on God and focused on seeing impact of young people, young dudes like myself. Now you are in Chicago, so I want to set the landscape. I talked a little bit again in the intro about who you are, but I called you a couple weeks ago to try to schedule this time. And again, people who are watching or listening, this is recorded ahead of time, so they'll catch it whenever they can. But I want to set the stage because you're in Chicago, and I'm from Brooklyn, and I love New York. It's tough. I did ministry in Baltimore, but Chicago different, bro. And you've been consistent in ministry there. I want to talk. I want you for the first couple moments just to share about like your heart for ministry, kind of how people who don't know Phil Jackson, which I don't know where you are and where you've been hiding, but introducing you to Phil Jackson for some of you, which is wild to me, but kind of your heart and why you feel so called to, I want to say youth ministry, but really it's just urban effective ministry, right? It's just ministry where students are. We were just talking off camera about your trip to Ghana recently and how you're engaging with brothers in that. So I want to pause because I want you to share just a little bit of your heart around why you felt called to kind of land where you land. And then we'll talk about the firehouse and those type of things.
Yeah. You know, it all comes from like how I experienced faith as a young person, right? And so I'm going to church, and it was like doing stuff at God, but it's not really with God, you know what I mean? And so I'm there and I'm doing my thing, and then and my dad was verbally and physically abusive growing up. He teaching Bible study at Sunday school, and he cussing everybody out in the car. So I'm like, all these particular mixed messages, and man, God seems so far away, and how do I? And does he know my shirt? All these particular nuances. When all that kind of stuff broke, and God wants a real authentic relationship with you, and he's grimy and he's grimy with you.
Yeah.
That's the God I need. He's relational. So what happened from that, man, it just lit a fire when I accepted a call to ministry. Like, I don't ever want another young person that I have in front of me, I can touch, I can be with, to ever not know this God is with you for real. So whatever bursts from there, it's freaking janitorial ministry. Y'all gonna know this God ain't no joke, man. He crazy in love with you, and he gonna come after you because I'm seeing God so high up, because oftentimes the deity of God, which is there, is like so high up, but the reality that Jesus farted, that he had to wash his clothes, and Peter was washing clothes, and Peter put the bleach in, and he did with real human stuff, is never really tangible enough. So when all that stuff broke, man, it brought some healing to my heart and soul. So that's the driving part. My life's mission. Our whole staff has a life mission. My life mission is I create a world where those labeled disadvantaged come alive through faith, hope, and love. So if I'm at Walmart and retired, you're gonna want to come to my stuff to know where the bananas are. You're gonna be alive in that space. And so I don't ever want a young person to be like, man, there's distance between me and God. There's distance in my life is this way. So yeah, that's what has driven me in that space, man. And I think it's peculiar though, because of the church in some regards is like where's the language for that, right? Where is the theology for that? Folks want to keep them safe and control. God can't be controlled. It's a mystery that is. And so allowing the Spirit of God to guide that path for me in that way is where things have been driven this spot. So it's just the root of that, man. That's where the root of it should come from.
No, that's great. That's great. So now you said a lot, and I know I got a lot of background history. So people who are listening today, man, are some senior pastors, some executive leaders, some ministry leaders, and some people who just love God and kind of trying into the leadership. But I want to talk about. So I want to say something, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. But you're at the church, Lawndale Community Church, right? That's correct. That church is where you served, and then it allowed you to plant and work with this youth ministry, which was super dope, and then also allowed you to plant and work with what we call now the Firehouse Community Development Corporation, right?
And Firehouse Community Arts Center, right.
Community Arts Center, right? Yeah. And it allowed you, and I want to say this real quick. So I hit Phil a couple of weeks back because you listed this stat, and I want you to tell us what it was. But you listed this stat that I think when you opened up the Firehouse fully, right? And I want you to talk about what the Firehouse is and all of the stuff that you all provide, but that the Firehouse had a positive impact on the community around it as far as the crime rate and what that looks like. Right. Yeah. That's kind of I want you to tell it, because I'm gonna jack it up and I don't want to say it wrong. But I also want you, because of those who are listening, right? Senior pastors, executive pastors, leaders, youth pastors, youth ministry leaders, or just leaders in general. I want you to talk them through the process, because I don't want them to say, okay, well, he did that in Chicago. My church isn't able to do that, or my church may not be in a place to do that, or my church isn't thinking of so I want you to say fully what God is allowing you all to kind of actualize now. But I also want you to come back and then talk a little bit about steps that others who are listening, who are watching, can kind of take in order to make that level of impact in their community.
Right. I appreciate that, Russ. So, we have this hip hop church called The House. It was birthed inside of Lawndale Community Church. And the young people said, yo, where can we do the arts at every day? And so because we're listening to our young people and listening to our community, we said, yo, let's figure out a spot. In 2004, the fire department left. 2007, we formed a nonprofit. And then 2007, we bought this building. But we had met with 300 residents in North Lawndale to say, yo, should we do this? Would you be down with it? And what should we do? And they came up with 7 different art disciplines. They said we would support it. It's important to recognize those are simple things with no building, with no 501c3 that you can do to hear from the community. Because what you may pursue or assume is what you want to bring to the neighborhood. The neighborhood said, we need a safe place to grow our gardens. Yo, now you meet a particular need, a felt need. And now it becomes like, can y'all got something for my kids to do? Now it becomes the healing force that's there. So as we listen to our young people and they sparked in that move, and we bought this building, 10,000 square foot, 100-year-old Chicago fire station. And our mission is to interrupt the cycle of violence among the lives of youth and young adults in North Lawndale through the power of arts and faith. That's our sweet spot. We work with young people between the ages of really 11 all the way to 30, but they're in different segments. One group, 11 to 24, are young people who the first time they meet is because they want to dance, they want to make music, they want to play the jimbas, and they want to get it in. They want to get in a recording studio. They want to express themselves in that space. And we see the word art as art, A-R-T, as art as redemptive transformation, A-R-T, nice. Right? That we take a 100-year-old building and redeem it and transform it. So it is in your life that God's work is artistic, right? And it takes you and it transforms you. So some people look at art as an option when it comes to people with money or not. And, folks who are in the hood, they need to just learn to read and write and do math and get a good job. But you ain't gonna buy a cell phone that doesn't have some art to it. There's some swag to it. That's why I want a red one, I want a fuchsia one, I want a pink one, because it's got some art. You don't want a phone with a bunch of wires in the back of it. So art affects us in every way. And even in the scriptures, there's a ton of art, right? And God is an artist. When you look at this doggone world that he created, it's beautiful. So you can't just unsee that. It's the spiritual dynamic of God in the midst of that. So sometimes people are like, well, art is over here and that's for secular. No, God is artistic. So, but what the other thing is social emotionally, right, that art engages you, it gives you a chance to take courage on yourself. So when we work with these young cats who are between the ages of 17 and 30, that's in our VIP work, we call very important process. And that is our violent interruption work. And then our Spark Arts is our 11 to 24. But what happens is they dive into some art. In the 6 months that they're with us, they dive into some art project. And now they're willing to see their success in that space to take courage and apply for a job, because they never had a job before. They've been on the block selling dope. So now they take courage in another pathway because they practiced it in a controlled environment to be able to say, I can take that to another space. And so being able to create that kind of normative kind of rhythm. And then our last part is our workforce development. We have a catering company, and we feed like 1,000 people a week, fully cooked lunches and dinners for 5 days. So every Thursday, folks get lunches and dinners for 5 days. It's like $3,500 a week to pay for the food. Wow. Some food we get donated to cover some of that. We have 2 great chefs and a kitchen team. And then in young cats who are in our violent interruption work, if they're really good, they will roll over in our catering company, and we hire them and they start doing stuff in the catering company. So that's how, when we say, interrupting the cycle of violence through the power of arts and faith, that's how it looks, right? Through the prevention, because we have stuff in the schools, a couple of middle schools, some high schools, we're doing art in, and then those same kids come here. And then we're in the schools when it comes to younger cats who are tiptoeing around gang activity. We got outreach advocates. So we have a whole outreach team that hits the block in 4 areas in North Lawndale. We want to be hyper local in 4 areas. I ain't trying to save all of Chicago. I'm trying to get June and them in K-Town, Twan and them Cermak. I'm trying to get, the focus is in that spot. And if we can be in that space for a long period of time, it has notorious history on violence. And after a while, we done got your grandmama involved. Now we got your uncle, and now we got all these people. Now you full court trap. Like, you can't get away from the fact that we're in there in that space. And we don't want to shoo you away from the neighborhood. We want you to get a skill, start a business, buy a career. Excuse me. We want all of that to be a part of that. So in our work, right, talking about how we make that happen, we focus, we focus on these areas. Yeah. We focus on these areas that we know we have license to operate in. We could be super thin if we focus on all the particular needs that are there. There's issues with single parent moms that need some stuff. We love you. We'll give you some information about another place, but we focus just like this. And this is our focus. So I say that in light of where your felt need is in your ministry and where you are. It's significant to know that, and it's significant to get community engagement and buy-in. There's a property up the street, right? And we do some healthy eating, healthy food stuff with a couple of different partners, with all of the food we do. They looked at this property. It was a torn down building that was there. They moved it out. The city moved it out. A young white guy from been in a neighborhood 20, 30 years doing some work. He goes up there, looks at this building, looks at this land, like, we want to do something. Well, a neighbor across the street said, "What's you trying to do over there?" He said, "I don't know. We want a healthy place, to grow some stuff." And she said, "I've been looking and wanting to grow some good food in that spot." So he listened to the community. He had an idea of a green room, but he wasn't just going to start a green building.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I'm going to come here. Let's listen. And so he created from the people on that block. They came together, a bunch of folks, they're from Mississippi, they're from down south. So they got some history about growing some stuff. And they began to be, so now they got a design architect, design some stuff, and they are the ones leading it. Simple as that. Being able to say in your community, in your space, what are our felt needs? If you got a lot of returning citizens, coming back, are they unable to find employment? Are they in a safe place to live? You may find that in that space, in the strength that you got in your community, we can do these two things. And you do those two, you do those two things well. I mean, you're familiar with Search Institute. Search Institute came up with these 40 developmental assets. And I know some ministries, if they're familiar with Search Institute, out of the 40 developmental assets, they'll say, "Hey, we can do 10 of these, and we're gonna hustle on 10 of them." But you don't want to do where it's not your strength, even if there's a great need in that space. So if your strength is to drive to the right, then man, drive to the right with full force like Zion on the Pelicans. Kill it. Yeah. Nobody can stop you on that. Now, you may say, "Man, I wish I could go to the left, but I can dish it off to somebody else." So don't be ashamed because you can't do it all. You don't be ashamed because there's expectations of the neighborhood that you're a big church or a little church and you should be doing this. No, find that one niche, because guess what? 3 years from now, they're going to be like, "That's the place to get good cucumber." They got all the produce. Man, we love that, right?
Yeah.
They want to do some other thing, but so too many times it's like we try to do too much all at one time and don't get nothing done, right? And then we get burnt out. So focus on, and even if it's like with youth ministry, I want to focus on this age group, because in my community, these kids aren't learning well. And we want to do in the school tutoring with mentoring. So you don't have to leave the school. We got you right there, whatever it might be. But it is about hearing from the community, finding what your own strengths are, and not being ashamed of it. I remember a woman asked me one time, she said, "Pastor Phil, can you work with the younger kids, these elementary?" I said, "No, I don't work with you. Them kids drive me crazy. I cannot do that." He was so mad. I'm like, "I know, and of my kids, but y'all's kids, they ratchet." No, but it was one of the things like, she was so, I say, "I know I'm doing youth ministry, but this is not my lane, and I will not bless these kids or help these kids. I can babysit them, sit down, we still pray, read, sing." Yeah. And I say I did that with confidence, without shame or trying to make her mad. That's how it has to be with the lane, I believe, that your ministry may be in, without any shame. Now, you may find we don't do that part, but we got partners who can, and maybe that's a way to undergird some of that. But you want to be in that space, and it's not rocket science. I know every church got some retired folk, and they got some folks ain't working, or they got some folks working a night shift, and they got 2 days a week they can come and do something during the day. And now you're in the schools, or you're at the prison, or you're in the nursing home, and you're walking with people in that space. So our work, with the violent interruption stuff is very, very intentional and very real. When you work with gangsters, ain't no sugarcoating that. I mean, ain't no sugar. If they can take the nonsense they do on the block, I don't need to tiptoe. Man, you was stupid. That was dumb. You right, Pastor Phil. You right. It ain't gonna be like, "How dare you say that was," No. Yeah. That was expected. If you sugarcoat it, they can finesse you. This guy saw. I'm gonna come with the foo-fop. So you gotta know the culture, know the community you're with, and over time, we got grandparents bringing their kids up. He was just shooting. He got guns in the backyard. So then they come. You know what I mean? But that's over time and the long haul of that. But I mean, it's out of one ministry. Again, give an example. They didn't have a lot. They had some volunteer men, and what these men said on these 4 corners for one summer, like 20 guys. We're going to rotate Friday and Saturday. I'm going to be out here from midnight to 6 in the morning, and you're going to come back, and you're going to go from on the Saturday. There's other 2 guys are going to be from 9 in the evening till 3 or whatever. And they did that on Fridays and Saturdays for summer. And they didn't have like a holy oil on the corner They didn't have, they just said, hey man, what's going on? What you going? I mean, we're not trying to do that right here. And they began to build names of people who they probably would have never knew their name if they weren't out there that early or that late at night. And now those kids, man, y'all really from that church, yo? Y'all be, and all of a sudden some cats started coming. One guy's from off the block began to build, and now he's some deacon at the same church. But it was simple. We just gonna be here posting up with y'all. And then they would have, hey man, y'all think the church could have a party for my kid? They were having parties, and then they was having parties for they memory of their dead homies. And they was like, man, we just want to have, we can't no liquor in the church, man. They're cool. We drink before we come, after about. And it was like, yeah, the church did that with us. The church did that. Man, Joe, what's y'all really on? In other words, there was no grant for that. There was no logic model, theory of change, things you get deep into. It was just carrying people being present, man, being present. And so finding that niche, having license to operate in that space, and just going out and doing it.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. And you said a lot of stuff, and I
know, I did.
It's great. It's all dope. I want you though, and again, those who are watching or listening, appreciate you getting on Pivot. Please download the show notes. I'm gonna put a lot of what Pastor Phil spoke about in here, and even other pieces that we talk about. But help me two things, Pastor Phil. I want you to one, just because you alluded to it, but you all have been doing this for a very, very long time. So I want you to state like how long it has been the pivot from the house all the way through to where we are now and what you see kind of going forward. That's the one thing. But the other piece that I want you to also qualify for people is the level of impact you've been able to have. So he's saying these stories and he's saying them in a joking way, but like I wholly believe that there's gangsters and people who have unfortunately took somebody else's life that have been a part of the ministry. I wholly believe that there's a backyard somewhere that had a bunch of guns that Phil heard about and was able to interrupt, because Chicago is just different, bro. And I said it earlier on, and no disrespect to anybody else, and it's not somebody to say my hood worse. Right. We got to fix all of them, right? No doubt. But I want the people who are watching, who are listening, to have that level of insight. So one, how long, right? And then two, the level of impact with your work with the community, right? So the cops have come and said things to you like, yo, because of what y'all are doing, we're seeing impact in this way.
Mm-hmm. We have been impacting this neighborhood in this way with some staff, some volunteers for 30 years, since 93, right? Wow. In that evolution of that, birthed this hip hop church, because kids were like, we want to go to church and this kind of, and then that from that evolution birthed this firehouse. And the firehouse, we've been here since 07. So that's 16, 17 years. But it wasn't like that's something brand new. No, you was over here on the block picking me up, taking me to breakfast. You know what I'm saying? Before we had a building. And now if I ain't gonna come to church, man, because they thought I'm gonna burn it down. So cool. So we like, yo, where can we get these cats? So after breakfast, I ain't taking them back to the block. We need to take them to another spot. So in that, and some of them same guys on staff at the firehouse, some of them same guys were looking 50 stacks a week on the block. And I was going to court for them, get them lawyers. We didn't have a building. We just had a youth center, right? And so now they like making $70,000 a year, running these guys. And it's just powerful to see that, man. And they loving it.
Yeah.
So in the midst of that tenure and that longevity, and the key thing is being real, being relevant, and being respectful. Like, I ain't the kind of preacher like, man, I know everything. How darest thou? Man, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just as mad at God and why this thing happened. I don't know why this happened, but I know God knows about it. But if I'm in a relationship with God, and if I'm in a relationship with my wife, or married 38 years, then I'm gonna say, babe, I'm mad at you. I'm not gonna be like, oh no, I'm good. No, I'm gonna say I'm upset. I know you're gonna be with me. We're gonna figure it out. So it is with God. God, I'm upset about this. What's going on? Why come we couldn't stop that? So in the realness of that, folks are recognizing that piece, and I think gives people freedom to be open and real. Now, what's happened, man, because of this license to operate in the 4 areas we serve. So in Chicago, it costs $2 million for every person who gets killed in the city. That's ambulance, that's a police, that's a funeral, that's all the costs that has been assessed. Yeah. So in North Lawndale, which is like the third like most violent neighborhood in the city, out of 72 neighborhoods, they have these. You got Pilsen, you got Little Village, all these different neighborhoods. They're all in Chicago. They're broken off into neighborhoods. There's 72 of them. 15 of the hottest ones. And Lawndale is like the third hottest community neighborhood in that space. And we focus on 4 chunks in North Lawndale that have been historically violent. And the particular chunks we focus on are historically violent to each other. So when we started cuffing one mob, that mob was saying, but they still shooting. We stopped shooting, but they still shooting. And so it was one of them kind of things like, okay, how then do we work with them? And so then we began to cultivate license to operate with them. And in the midst of that, now we got 2 of y'all. Now we got 4 of y'all. So the 4 hottest cats we cuffing, so they know we're going to irritate it with righteousness. They know we're going to call. We have a ratio of 1 to 5. We have 1 navigator, which is a professional mentor, to 5 young men and women who are on the block, because we want high quality versus number. The national ratio is 1 to 10. These are high maintenance cats. They got baby mama drama. They got mama drama. They got their own drama. So we can't have you with 10 cats bugging you that way. What we've seen, what we call a hyper local connection, is this more contact, more impact, right? So we spend 4,500 hours on the block or more a year. So that's 25 some hours a week or more. That's 6 to 7 outreach advocates on the block. We do 60 pop-ups a year. That's blocking the street off, bouncy houses, DJs, food, cats rapping in that spot that was hot, blocking the street off, so the opposition, so the cats we working with on that block don't have to worry if the opposition gang is going to drive through, because the street's blocked because the cops are there. So now you can come to the side, and we've been trying to get you, little Richie. Where you been at? So now we got little Richie and we can talk to. Oh, that's what y'all, man, Joe. I'm gonna holler at you on Tuesday. So now it's a way he can be peaceful. His kids can come and play on the bouncy house. Now, from that kind of perpetual cycle, and some time we're some places the couple of times in the summer, we've seen 1 year in 21 there was 12 murders in those areas out of 47 murders in North Lawndale, right? That we felt we were responsible, at least in the data, 29% of the murders in North Lawndale. So out of 47, 12 of them were in our area. That was in 21. We accelerated the amount of hours we do both in our mentoring. So that's 25,000 hours a year that our mentors are with guys. We accelerated that, and we accelerated the time on the block. We saw an impact of that in 2022 from 12 murders to 2.
Wow.
So if that's 10, if that's 2 million per person, that's a lot of money saved. Right? This year, man, from January to June, no murders. Shootings down 50%, man. So we're looking now for
that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? None. No. Here's what's crazy. So we have the headquarters here, this firehouse. Then we have 3 other locations we rent, because some mobs we work with, at one point they all could be in this space, because some bodies drop. They feel safe coming in here, but they don't feel safe leaving. So we have them in different locations, right? Yo, we cuffed a crew in K-Town. They come to a barbershop. Yo, they're extorting the barbershop. We need our money. Barber said, okay, come on this day, get the money. He didn't have the money. They lit the barbershop up. We cuffed them like that day. We got them that day. Wow. Yo, it's been peaceful. I'm talking about the block. I mean, it's peaceful. And then because they've been with us, they get a high school diploma, they get their CDL.
See, that's the part. That's the part. That's it. The part is the shift. I'm sorry to cut. The part is that, so even here in DC, they're having some stuff. In Baltimore, they having some. I think in a friend of mine, Gerard, is in Memphis, and all of these areas have these things, but they're bringing in more enforcement, but not more opportunities, bro. Yeah, and that's the part. Like I want you to. So I'm gonna stop talking, but I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
The opportunity is the part. Like, don't nobody want to go kill nobody. Right. They want the opportunities.
Right. I only know one kid, and this kid locked up the other day. When he was in elementary school, we was doing this thing. Write on a piece of paper what you want to be. This kid said, GD, I want to be a gangster. He wrote on a thing like his kid is like 4th grade, and he became that and got in jail. But typically, you put, I want to be a dentist, and you want to be a fireman and a dentist and a teacher. You know, all that kind of stuff. Everybody thinking about, man, I want to be the killer on the whole block. You know. And we believe in opportunity, options, and access. You know, if you have opportunity, because I believe cure for cancer, cure for COVID are in the heads of these guys. If they could step away and recognize, yo, I'm good with this math, yo.
It's crazy.
There was one dude, he was good with math. He was good with the dice game. He could kill on the dice. He's just good with the math. Yeah. We plugged him with an organization that had gotten a big, huge grant from the Dodgers, like $100 million. And they did with that money. they ended up investing into a black investment firm and said, we got a young guy. We're going to invest in your firm, but you got to create internship for this young man because he's good with numbers. And they said, okay, let's give him $5,000. That boy flipped $5,000 in the stock market to $15,000. They helped him get certified, help him get some stuff done in his background, and they started AI investments. It was Amplify, the organization called Amplify Investment, all because this dude recognized, wow, my stuff on the dice game can actually be a career path, can actually be an asset. I only knew dice, but you had access, opportunity, and option. Yo, if you only know how to hoop on a crate, you're just doing crate ball. You go look at us on the court talking about what that is. What is that?
Yeah.
But you have access to like, yo, I can get down. And so the more opportunity we have that way, man, you know, people talk about the wealthiest place in the world is a cemetery. All the ideas were buried because they didn't have opportunity. But we took some young brothers yesterday. The brother who invented the Impossible Meat, the Beyond Beef, brother, the black man, right? In Chicago, downtown. He was CEO, first black CEO of McDonald's. They jammed him up. He left them. That's why you got the Impossible Whopper, not the Impossible Big Mac. Because forget McDonald's. We take him over to his spot, African American owned, all these other things he's into. And we took these same brothers who lit up their barbershop, we took them over there. And they came back, it was like, man, Joe, we want to do an internship. Brothers wouldn't even learn, they didn't even know what an internship word was. You hear me? They didn't even know now they talking about internships and I want to come back. Because they had options and access. And pretty soon, just like my man with the AI investment, they'll realize, I can really do this. And so when you can't police away peace, you can't police away safety, So even our effort to feed families is so that June will get off the block, try to stop selling so much stuff and creating havoc because his family's being fed or his grandma's being fed or whoever he's staying with. So those kind of nuances, man, have to be a part of the complete work. Oftentimes in the church, it's powerful. Somebody come to faith in the Lord, but it can't just stop there, right? It has to go in feeding the 5,000. Matthew 25. Hey, I'm in a jail. You brought me something to drink, Joe. I need a jacket. You got me a coat. It has to manifest itself. We call ourselves, we pray with our feet. I mean, that's an old phrase. We pray with our feet. In the midst of that, it began to change that. I mean, we believe in not faith-based, but faith integrated, right? So guys coming in the door, we're not throwing them with holy water. We are being who we believe Christ would have us to be in a way that we real with you. We're gonna meet you. Man, that was some bullshit. I don't know why we talking with you in a way where we're not trying to do it to get you to like us. We're doing it because we are meeting you right where you are to take you where God would have you to be, because it ain't how you start, right? It's always how you finish. If in the midst of that we can build with you to where then you can say, wow, I'm making these choices that are not healthy because this is the person we have a curriculum called PAT, living on purpose, walking in authority on the strength of your character, right? And we form a pact in the street. Vice, Lord, unknown, blah. You form another pack on this other way, man. And you watch cats who embrace it, their circles get smaller. So I used to have a broad circle and everybody was whoo. Now my circle, I got two real tight friends, and this is who I rock with because they living in a different path. In business, they got a phrase like, what is that phrase, man, Russ, where it's like proof of concept, right? Mm-hmm. Can we sell these things and blah, blah, blah. Guys need a proof of concept that this life is really real, that I can really live this joint, right? And so let's stop, talking about it. Let's just be about it. And then in the midst of that, God be like, yo, man, talk to me about God instead of Joe. I see what you're on over this way, man. God must be. Now it becomes a more thicker, stickable conversation. Man, we had a Bible study one time called "Shit Won't Change Unless You Get Up and Wash Your Ass," which is a bite from Kendrick Lamar's album. Lamar, man, that's a great quote, man. Basically, Galatians 6, you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. Here goes my man Lee Ray talking about out of nowhere. We had a good talking about it about an hour. He stands up, man. You the only MF Pastor Phil I ever listened to about God. I trust whatever you say. Now, how did that happen? It didn't happen because I talked to him about God for 7 or 8 years. I've been together with him. It came because I said stuff like, you probably shouldn't be hitting your girl, you got a daughter, right? You probably shouldn't you don't want that to happen. Man, you're right, Joe. Just talking about life. I didn't give him an address where that's found. I didn't give him any of that.
Yeah.
Just doing life. And then gradually the thickness of who Christ really is became real with him because he saw it, he touched it, he felt it. And so I say that it's the trust that God is bigger than my magical words or the 4 spiritual laws or the Romans road, the John road. Trusting that God is bigger than my words. And if I can be who God would have me to be in the midst of this culture, they see this is different. And it's just a beauty to see that. And so these numbers, man, our desires in the next 5 years, the 95% of our murders in Lawndale are gone, that we can decrease murders in Lawndale by 95%. Now I say that's our niche. If we're doing that, and a couple other partners that are shooting for the same thing, we're not going to be the only, that's why we don't say 100%, we say 95, because there's other groups doing some other great work. So if we can move in that space, and then we want to empower cats to buy their own crib, start a business, all these kind of things like that, man. So we've seen opposition gangs come together. We took some of the opposition gangs to Ghana for this rites of passage, man. So we're excited. We got a powerful crew, got 29 staff, and they're all about this life, man. They're all about this life, man.
Man, that is dope. I know we're getting close to time. Time for the people and time. We got stuff. You got a bunch of stuff that you got to get done. But I want to say, man, I miss you, man. I love you, bro.
You too. I love you too, man.
I miss hearing the work and hearing just the realness of what God has called you to do and how you and a team of people are actualizing that. So I think that is super dope. And I'm going to say, I know I said this before. I know you got some books out, but you got to write this joint down because I don't know if y'all heard. I mean, we're going to try. Brianna, shout out in the background. Brianna's doing notes. I don't know how you're going to capture all this, Brianna, but because he had point after point, and we do these 3 steps, and we got this pathway, we got this, brother. That's more than enough for books. People need it. So I'm gonna put it in the show notes, but I want to also put in the show notes. This is not Phil's book yet. He has to work on it. Because
there's a book we're working on called Stop the Funeral. Stop the Funeral.
Nice. Okay.
How Christ stopped the funeral of the mom with her son and brought the son back to life. And we're seeing the son restoring the family. Woo!
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good.
Man. Oh my God.
That's good.
Yeah. So you're right. I gotta. You like the 100th person who said that. And we we come from oral tradition, so I just need to get on here and talk it through, and then get it down.
And hire somebody to help you knock it out because you don't got time to do it. You gotta go do the work, but you can sit down and talk to them, and they can write it, and you can proof it, and it'd be Phil Jackson with, it'll be fine. Whoever And if you on here listening and watching and you want to be the whiff, hit Phil up. You need to get this out.
Right.
But that's dope, man. I'm so appreciative, man, of you getting on Pivot. Again, I'm so excited about the work that's happening there. I'm excited for those who are watching or listening. Hopefully you were inspired. I'm inspired. Even the work we're doing at our church. Shout out my pastor, Kingdom Fellowship, Pastor Matthew Watley. And I'm gonna actually talk about some stuff that you laid out too to make sure that we are trying to work with some stuff. And Pastor Tony Lee in DC, who's already doing crazy great work. Tony. But yeah, man. Again, thank you, man, Phil. Love you, bro. Super excited for what you got going, man, and how God can continue to work and how God can continue to change lives there in Chicago, man, in North Lawndale. Specifically, man, and prayerfully across the globe, man, because so many cities need it, so many areas need it, so many countries need it. Man, praying for that, man. Thanks again for being on Ministry Pivot, bro.
Man, thank you so much, Russ. I'm proud of you, man. And let's not have this gap of time. Let's connect more.
We're gonna do better. We're gonna do better. Thank y'all again for getting on Ministry Pivot. Super excited to see what God is doing in your life, and don't forget, this is your season to pivot. You just got to pivot toward it. God bless.
God bless.
Man, I hope you were as excited and as informed and prayerfully as inspired as I was about what Pastor Phil is doing in the life of many young people, many families for decades inside Chicago. Super excited about that. Please don't forget to download the show notes. Don't forget to share this with somebody that would be inspired by, would be excited by, and may even be challenged by the work and the word that Pastor Phil is doing there in Chicago. And if you can, go ahead and support what they're doing there at the firehouse. I'm sure that they would appreciate the support, whether it's in volunteer hours or whether it's even in donations. He didn't ask me to do any of that, but you heard the lives that are being changed. And so prayerfully, you'll consider to be a part of the impact that's there. Again, thank you for getting on the Ministry Pivot. Don't forget to go onto the website for some of our articles. Don't forget to support our sponsors, and don't forget to support those that we are in partnership with, and super excited about what God is doing for you this year. Don't forget, all you have to do is pivot toward it. God bless.
That's it for today's episode of the Ministry Pivot. We hope you enjoyed listening and gaining some valuable insight. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss out on our future episodes. And if today's show has resonated with you, please leave us a review to help others discover our podcast. For more resources and updates, visit our website at ministrypivot.com. And be sure to join our email list as well as follow us on Instagram at Ministry Pivot. Thanks for joining us today, and we're excited to have you back next time for another insightful episode of Ministry Pivot. Stay connected, keep pivoting. We'll see you soon.